All right, guys, I'm gonna level with you here real quick. It sucks when you know very well that you can accomplish literally all the goals you set out to do. Every single one that you have on like your New Year's resolutions or that you set for yourself every single quarter, whenever you're doing, you know you can do it. But staying consistent with it sucks. So that's been on my mind for the past couple of days here is just the absolute struggle bus that it is to try and make the most of the goals that we set for ourselves and at the same time actually reach them. So the way that I have described it is that it's less of Mario Kart where you're cruising along, you're going through the course and you're making progress, and it's more like bumper cars minus all the padding. So in other words, just a constant car crash. But the reason why I've been thinking about this is been why it's so hard to stay consistent with like the goals that I set for myself that I was doing fantastic with at the start of the year, but have fallen off. And this can be things like journaling, this can be things like the gym, and of course there are life events that take place that can prevent you from actually doing it, but other times you just fall off. So if you're new to the channel, my name is Michael Klukas, and here we try to keep everything simple and make progress one step at a time. And ultimately, this is something new that I'm just trying because I'm just rattling off my thoughts here on my commute. So I'm dubbing this commuter conversations because throughout any time of our day, more often than not, if we're commuting to work, we probably have some time to sit down and chat. So we're starting off with the idea of consistency and why it's just so hard to stay consistent. And I've chalked it up to kind of, if you've never heard of it, the 80-20 rule. So 80% of your results will come from 20% of your inputs or 20% of your efforts. Now, in and of itself, that sounds preposterous. Like if you've never heard that principle before, it doesn't feel true. And granted, if you don't actually kind of do self-assessments and try to figure out why it's true, then it could be, the ballpark range could be different for everybody, but that's kind of the general principle. The reason why I think it's so hard to stay consistent, though, is we are trying to get 80% of results from every single goal that we have, which in turn means that we are focusing less and less on the individual aspects that we need to actually be successful with them. So what do I mean by this? I essentially have split up goals into 5 distinct categories, and that is your health, so your mental health, your physical health, your wealth, so for the W, so your financial situation, and then relationships, so your friends, family, romantic partner, and then from there your career, because that determines a lot of other aspects of your life, and then fulfillment, because in some circumstances, and actually probably for the average person, the career and personal fulfillment are kind of separated. The ideal situation, of course, is to have them be linked, but then the perfect situation is to have all 5 of those pillars work together in tandem to give you the results that you want and that you need. So ultimately, my thought process here is that if we are focusing so much on, say, maximizing our wealth, maximizing our income, that we are neglecting our relationships, then that in of itself is not living up to the full capacity that we want. It's not reaching the goals that we want. And then in turn, if you are focusing so much on your relationship, going out with your friends every night, your partner every night, that can be fun for a season, sure. But if you never actually then take time to, say, get an internship in university or put yourself out there and go to some networking events, then your career could suffer. In the start anyways, long-term horizon, who knows what happens, but it's all about how these pillars impact one another. And so if you're someone who's trying to overhaul your life and get as many goals as possible set up and then start making progress towards all of them, you're not going to actually be able to do all of them at once. Because say that I want to, and this is still one of the goals I have for New Year's, is get down to a particular body weight and a particular body composition. Now, I'm okay with that goal taking longer because I know both based off the science of weightlifting and health and fitness, that if I can make it a sustainable lifestyle, then it's going to be easier to hit in the long run. So it's not a huge pressing, concern to ultimately get that pillar under control, because I'm making progress in it. I'm staying consistent with my gym habit, and that's fantastic. But then we have things like my career, where I'm not fully sure what direction I want to go in with my current professional career. I know what my long-term aspirations are, but that more than bleeds into the fulfillment aspect as well. And that might be the same for you, where you might know what actually fills up your bucket, what you're actually passionate about, but you don't feel like you would actually go for it because of either family obligations, either student debt, because we know that's an issue, or because you have been raised in a household or within a certain subculture that makes you believe that you have to be a lawyer, doctor, engineer. I'm just going to give a side eye to that, because if you know, you know. And so it ultimately, I believe, comes down to just trying to figure out which one you want to focus on for what season of life you're in. So if I were to use the career part as an example, for those of us who are starting out in our careers, so those of us, say you're 20 and you're entering the workforce, and you are trying to, again, get a good grasp of what you want to do, then you should be spending time experimenting. That season of life can be dedicated towards the experimentation. It can be dedicated towards the exploration of the inklings that you have, the passion projects you were working on, and seeing what those potentially can become. The inverse might be then that you take your 20s to be a little bit more lax on your career. You still test things out, but you want to focus on building and sustaining a fantastic relationship with your friend, your family, and inevitably also your network. And again, you can do both at the same time, sure, but if you're able to actually give it dedicated focus towards one over the other, then you will inevitably make more progress on that particular pillar than spreading yourself too thin and not being able to actively put in a good amount of effort and intention into making progress under one goal. So I do think that that's probably what causes this struggle between reaching the goals, being consistent, and actually seeing the progress you want to see. So my encouragement to you guys would be that if you are feeling like you can't get it right, if you are falling off of your habits, if you've been starting and stopping over and over again, that's okay. It is okay to miss a day. It's okay to fall off for a week. Life events happen. That's okay. What I encourage you instead to do is don't try to spread yourself too thin and try to level up every single aspect of your life all at once. Instead, focus on one particular category, one particular area that you want to be world class in. And for a couple months, focus on that, study that, and learn what it takes to actually get where you want to go. And then once you've figured that out, once you've made good progress on it, then you will be able to move on to the next category, and it'll be a snowball effect where one moves you on to the next, moves you on to the next, and moves you on to the next. So that's my encouragement